and welcome to a special edition of On Texas Basketball. I'm Jeff Howe, joined by Gerry Hamilton. That means we've got to talk about a commitment. Sean Miller and company adding another body from the portal. We'll get to that here in just a minute. This special edition of On Texas Basketball brought to you by Advanced Pain Care. We'll get a message from our friends at Advanced Pain Care here in a bit. But Gerry, Simeon Wilcher went in the portal from St. John's. He's had an interesting path to Texas, was committed to North Carolina, actually signed with North Carolina at one point. Numbers ended up not working out. He gets out of that, ends up at St. John's. Kind of an up and down 2 years for him, but combo guard in the portal. Sean Miller and staff make the move and go get him.
Yeah, a guy that Sean Miller really liked out of high school and played well against Xavier this season at St. John's. He started 25 games out of 36 for St. John's, the Big East champs, number 2 seed in the NCAA tournament, playing for Rick Pitino. He didn't shoot the three well this year, but I think that he shot 42% in limited attempts as a freshman. He was only 30 this last year, but I think he's a better shooter than this. And I think you're going to see that. There's a quote from Rick Pitino during January, late January this season, talking about how good a shooter Simeon Wilcher is and how he wanted him to take more three-point attempts, not as many 25-foot attempts, more 22 and 23-foot attempts, but how good of a shooter Simeon Wilcher is. And I think Sean Miller and this staff believe they're going to get it out of him as he gets into years 3 and year 4. And again, what we talked about, we'll get to what else is out there for Texas, but we said Texas needed a combo guard with size that couldn't be a non-shooter. Well, I think they found that in Simeon Wilcher. The key is going to be, does he get up to that 35, 36% range from 3 his last 2 years at Texas? I tend to think he will. And if he does that, then suddenly you have a really good combo guard in the SEC that has size, that has shot-making ability, that can stretch the floor, has length defensively. And Jeff adds to a roster that already is going to be the tallest, longest we've seen at Texas.
Gerry, let's address the three-point shooting really quick, because I think that's the one thing that people will look at. And again, it's going to jump out to you because he played a lot more minutes as a sophomore than he did as a freshman. About 9 minutes a game as a sophomore, over 25. 9 as a freshman, over 25 as a sophomore. But Gerry, you go back to his freshman year, granted, it was only on 24 threes. He did shoot it at 42% from 3 as a freshman. So the production wasn't there as a sophomore, but maybe that, to your point, that's probably in there for him somewhere. Can Sean Miller and the staff tap into that?
Yeah, look, I think they will, and I'm not guaranteeing it, but I think they will. I think a lot of times guys are better shooters than what they show early on in their career. I mean, 29.7 last year for Simeon Wilcher, not the number you want to be at. I think he's going to cruise closer to that 35, 36%, like I said, the last couple of years. I mean, and I know it's not an apples-to-apples comparison. Milos Uzan struggled from 3 at Oklahoma his sophomore year. Shot about 29%. He goes to U of H and shoots 40 this year on a really good team. And I'm not saying it's the same, but what I am saying is we've seen this many times before where guys just make a change and maybe they just feel more comfortable. Maybe it's they're getting older as players, so they say, okay, I'm going to take 23-footers instead of trying to show my 25-foot NBA range. Maybe it's the little things. Maybe it's who the system you play in, the shots you get, maybe you're more comfortable in a certain system. There's a lot of things to play into. I think experience is number 1, and the shots you take is 1B. And I think Simeon Wilcher is better shooter than his three-point numbers indicated. And again, the thing was, Rick Pitino was in the New York Post saying, I want him to shoot 6 threes a game. He never shot that number at St. John's that year. But you're not telling somebody you want them to shoot 6 threes a game unless you believe they're a very capable shooter. That's the thing I would say about Simeon Wilcher. And as he gets older here in years 3 and years 4, I expect Texas is going to get a quality 6'3 and a half, 6'4 guard that Sean Miller offered out of high school that was a top 50 recruit in the country.
No doubt. Gerry, as we look at this backcourt, the makeup of the backcourt at Texas, you've got combo guards all over the place. We talked early on about how don't get hung up on the true point guard because Sean Miller likes combo guards. You add Wilcher to Tremont Mark and Kendall Weaver and Jordan Pope returning. Jerry, there's enough time on the floor, good enough defined roles for these guys that it can work.
Yeah, it can. I mean, look, Tremont Mark, how much more to me, what's this is going to come down to is what can Sean Miller and his offensive system unlock for these guys, the returners at Texas that maybe weren't unlocked under Rodney Terry. Because it's not like Tremont Mark hadn't averaged 16.5 points and shot 36.5% from three at Arkansas in the SEC before. Now that team kind of fell apart through injury and circumstance, but that guy's put it on the board in the SEC. Jordan Pope is a guy that can shoot the basketball either off the dribble or off the catch. And if you can unlock a little bit more out of him in his final year, you know you're going to unlock more out of Kendall Weaver because it's a more free-flowing, movement-based offensive system versus a lot of ball screen that turned to isolation, which is not Kendall Weaver. Kendall Weaver is going to be a slasher, a driver, a guy that moves without the ball, makes plays without the ball. So you know there's going to be a little more unlock with him. But what can Sean Miller unlock with Tremont Mark and Jordan Pope? And now Simeon Wilcher as he's an older guard. And I think that he's going to unlock quite a bit from those guys. And I think that Texas fans are going to like where this guard rotation's headed with the understanding that I don't think they're finished yet.
Jerry, Sean Miller's a Pittsburgh guy. We know he loves football. He loves physical play. And the one thing I like about, if you look at the guards Rick Pitino has taken, and the guards, and keep in mind, Simeon Wilcher was a rotational player for a 32-win St. John's team. Jerry, you can't be soft and play guard for Rick Pitino. He typically recruits tough guards, and Simeon Wilcher strikes me as New Jersey kid, tough kid. The beating guards take physically in the SEC. That's the one thing I don't worry about with him.
No, absolutely not. I mean, look, these guys these are four guards that are accustomed to playing high-level basketball games, right? They're accustomed to the physicality. They're accustomed to playing through contact. And one of the things that I like about the Wilcher pickup is he's a 2-year player. Yes. I mean, I think that's very important because Texas only had the three guards on the roster before Wilcher were all last-year players in college basketball. And now you're getting a guy that's a 2-year player, which is important. But all those guys have played in physical, demanding leagues. And now they're doing so with experience. And that's, to me, is the whole key is these are stronger bodies. They're older, more mature bodies. They're guys who have been through some really tough games, some tough battles. And look, the reality is all these guys have played in NCAA tournaments, multiple. Tremont Mark played in some really big games early on at U of H. Mm-hmm. Back in the NCAA tournament at Texas. Weaver in the NCAA tournament, multiple years here at Texas. Jordan Pope got his first taste of NCAA tournament action. And Wilcher did the same this year at St. John's. So these are stronger body guys who have learned to play through contact. And in the case of Kendall Weaver, explode through contact and create contact. So I think these guys are ready for the rigors of SEC basketball as a group. I think Sean Miller's put together a pretty good roster right now in short order. And we're going to see where this last spot goes.
Yep, we'll get to that here in just a second. But right now, here's a special message from today's sponsor of On Texas Basketball. Let's hear from our friends at Advanced Pain Care.
Pros know the pain stops here.
Physical therapy helps me as an athlete then and now. And do I still need therapy? Yes. Advanced Pain Care helps with that.
Injuries will stack up. They'll add up. You can't let those injuries get you down, and Advanced Pain Care has been very helpful for me.
We can help with whatever's got you down, from nerve damage to our spinal cord stimulator. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Same-day appointments available.
Advanced Pain Care. The pain stops here.
Jerry, you've talked about it. 2 spots left is what Sean Miller has. Your best guess, I want you to sit in Chris Ogden's chair. You're the GM of Texas basketball all of a sudden. Your loins are girded. Where are you going, Jerry, for this last spot? In theory, one last spot, but you've got 2.
I think Texas is a global recruiting program now under Sean Miller. Does that guarantee it's going to be an international player? No. But what it guarantees is they're looking around the globe for that best player, that best fit. And they technically have 2 spots left, but I think one will be maybe impactful in the season. So what could happen with that? It could be an international player. It could be a younger international player that maybe needs a year to develop. Right? Could it be an older international player that could be a piece, right, as a role player, and then in year 2 be a really good player for you? Could it be a high school recruit. We'll see, right? I mean, so I think they could go a number of directions with it. But I do think they will add another piece to this roster. They have 2 scholarship spots left. I don't know for sure if they use both. I know for sure they'll use one. And that's where it'll get interesting is who that is. But I do think this is a worldwide, a global recruiting program now. They're looking everywhere for the best fits available. And I think international guard remains on the table as it has been. But it's got to be that right fit because you don't want to take a guy that is not good enough and he needs a lot of time because then that kid will probably leave. It can't be a guy that maybe also is going to test the NBA draft waters because then if that guy stays in the NBA draft, you're kind of SOL on your roster this year. So it's got to be that right fit. And if it's a 2-year player or 3-year player, I think that's the perfect fit they're looking for.
A couple things before we wrap up, Jerry. With this last spot or these last 2 spots, we'll see what they do. Is the house settlement looming? Is that still a player? Or you think maybe not as much with finishing out this roster?
I don't think as much. I know Bobby's convinced that they're just going to kick the can down. It's going to be more litigation all the way through, right, for months and months on end. We'll see on that. I think the biggest thing right now is Texas is where they need to be. They're fine from an NIL perspective. They have the NIL resources to go add 2 more players if they want to. I think for sure they add 1 because I think 1 would be a guy that plays minutes this year, barring a lot of injuries, which you don't want to talk about later on these shows. But I don't think that's a real factor right now. But I do think that's been a factor in a lot of in the portal season with trying to get these 1-year rentals that are asking for millions of dollars done quickly. And that's included some signing bonuses so that they can front load those contracts. I don't think that the next guy that Texas adds is part of that equation.
And Jerry, look, you say it all the time, whatever kind of roster you put together doesn't guarantee you success in the NCAA tournament. But you look at how it's constructed now. You think this is a roster that can potentially get Texas in that mix to be a second weekend team?
I do personally. I mean, look, they're going to be in the top 25, top 20 of these way too early top 25s. I think they have enough size and I think they have enough balance. They need what they're going to need is they're going to need Wilcher to shoot it at that 35, 36% range for 3. They need Dalen Swain to make a little bit of a jump as a perimeter player, become a 30, 32% three-point shooter as his game continues to evolve. And it's on track to do that from year 1 to year 2. And then they're going to need Matas to take a step as a sophomore. Mm-hmm. And then they're going to need the other thing they're going to need. And I know people are like, well, if you're saying they are, what do you need? You're talking about a lot of things you need. Yeah, that's any team though. I mean, then those young bigs, they need 2 of those young bigs to give them valuable minutes along with Matas and Alicina Traore at the 4. That's what they're going to need. And 2 of those 3 guys will play a role. I mean, they're talented kids, right? Yep. I think if you get 4 out of those 5 things on this team, then they're really talented. I mean, they're going to have a shot. I mean, Dylan Swain's going to be projected first-round pick in a lot of mocks. I think Matas will be on NBA draft boards after starting his junior year, his second year at Texas. A kid like Wilcher's got pro ability, and I'm not saying he's going to be a draft pick, but he's going to play pro ball on some level. Tremont Mark is going to do the same. Jordan Pope and Weaver will probably play overseas. I mean, there's a lot of talent on this roster. The key is going to be they need 2 guys to shoot it better than they have thus far in their career. That's Wilcher number 1, and that's Swain 2. Because I think Mark, Pope, and Camden Heidi, those guys you can't play under ball screens. You can't play drop coverage against. If you can add a 4th guy to where you have to guard him in that way, and it needs to be Wilcher, then you have really good floor spacing. That means you can have 3 guys on the court at the same time at all times that you can't play under on, you can't play drop coverage against. And if you can put 3 guys on the court that create floor spacing, then you're going to have an offensive team that's going to probably average 78 to 80 points a game. That's going to be the whole key. They need Wilcher to shoot it better this year and Dalen Swain.
Last thing, Jerry, does this change for you? Does it change the math at all for a 2026 class that you start with Austin Gooseby and Bo Ogden, and we can go down the list, but it's a really talented in-state class, a really talented class. Sean Miller's made contact with some big-time prospects. Does taking a multi-year guy change the math at all?
Maybe slightly, but you're losing 3 guards. I mean, you're going to lose Mark, and you're going to lose Pope, and you're going to lose Weaver off this 25-26 team. So it's real easy to look at a couple of the high school guys and say, yes, okay, the minutes are there. Even if I'm a role player for, off the bench 18 minutes a game freshman year. Now, you'll also recruit a couple of guys out of the portal too. I think one of the big things will be Dalen Swain. What does he do? Does he become a first-round pick and he's gone after 1 year? We'll see. But there's always the chance that somebody leaves, right? I mean, it's going to be easy to sit there for Sean Miller and his staff to say, look, the opportunity's here, Austin Gooseby, if you come in and grab it. Bo Ogden playing behind Camden Hyde your first year, right? And then taking over in that role in year 2. It's all there to sell from a recruiting standpoint and easy to sell on paper.
All right, we'll be tracking it here on the channel and over at ontexasfootball.com. Don't forget right now, sign up for a membership at ontexasfootball.com. We'll get you 1 year of access for $49.95 if you use the promo code OTFOG. That's OTFOG is the promo code you need to use. We'll get you 1 year of access at On Texas Football and plenty of basketball and plenty of baseball info. It's all there for you for $49.95. And don't forget the On Texas Basketball Instagram account at On Texas Basketball on Instagram. We've got graphics and clips and all kinds of fun stuff over on Instagram for the Texas basketball fans.
Yeah, we do. We might even start dropping some interviews with TJ Ford and the like soon. We'll see.
There you go. Plenty of good stuff. A good time to be a Texas basketball fan. A lot of good stuff happening over at the we don't even have a name. Do we have an official name for the facility yet, Jerry? I'm tired of just calling it the facility.
Yeah, the Moody practice facility, I guess we'll go the house, maybe the house KD built. I don't know, whatever you want to go with, Jeff.
Yeah, we'll figure something out. I may need to get with the creative services department and figure something out. Regardless, big thank you to Matthew behind the scenes for making this happen. Big shout out to everybody, the entire On Texas Football staff. For Gerry Hamilton, I'm Jeff Howe. Thank you for tuning into this special edition of On Texas Basketball with Texas adding Simeon Wilcher out of the portal. And until next time, hook 'em.